how much of the electricity SAP uses in its data centers and facilities come from renewable sources? Please use the chat for that. Konstantin thinks 100, Simon 80, up to 100, from Benedict 100. $90, all quite high. Wow. Any other suggestions, ideas, estimates? 60. Thank you, Korkberg. But it looks like that you have quite huge expectations towards SAP. 50, 60 to 70, good. 50. So let me give you the answer, and I start with, before I share the secret with all of you. It was back in 2013 when I realized that the new corporate business strategy of SAP will have this headline of being the most innovative cloud company. So I reached out to our CEO during that time, Bill McDermott, and I said, Bill, if we would like to offer our customers the solutions out of a cloud, we should offer these solutions out of a Queen cloud. And I immediately got his buy-in. And then I said, and we should not only do it for the data centers and for the co-locations and now for the so-called hyperscalers, but we should be consistent and doing that as well for all the facilities around the world. And he said, yes. And then after his yes, I went back to my boss and I said, hey, Peter, Bill said yes to me. And Peter smiled and looked at me and he said, Daniel, yes. He said, yes, but do you have the money for purchasing renewable electricity of high quality? And I thought, but it was such a strong, be careful, yeah. But 2 weeks later, a budget transfer was made from the board reserve of Bill McDermott to my cost center, allowing me and enabling me and empowering me to purchase green electricity of high quality. And two experts of NGOs of WWF and CDP helped us to define the criteria in order to do the right things, because renewable energy and renewable energy is not the same. So we are now, and with the answer here, 100%. So Konstantin, the first one was right, and Arif. And so since 2014, we run all our data centers and facilities globally on 100% renewable. Next question to you. What is special about SAP's annual report? Now, it's not about a number, it's about your qualitative ideas, how to answer that question. And by the way, this report will be launched tomorrow. So stay tuned tomorrow. Laura is in homework for all of the students. Yeah, they should have a look at that report we will launch tomorrow. So what is special about our report? No idea so far. Environmental profit and loss included? Question mark. Oh, you are quite experienced. The first company who did so was Puma, coming up with an environmental profit and loss included. And it is not included. Partially, I could say. ESG performance included? Question mark. Yes, that's a good guess. Reporting of non-financial KPIs, indeed. Social engagement of employees is as well included. You are right, Louisa. Any other ideas, suggestions? What is special? Well-being of employees, that is quite material for SAP. Only if our people feel good, then they can be engaged, then they can be productive, and they can be creative and innovative, which is crucial for SAP's future success. And yes, we report as well about our environment performance. So very good guesses from your side. And the answer is that based on our learnings from the previous years and understanding in the year 2012 how material sustainability performance is for the overall performance of company, we started our integrated journey. What do I mean with that? We launched our first integrated report back then, and tomorrow we will report in an integrated fashion for the 9th times. So it is really combining the non-financials and the financials and report in a transparent fashion. But let me share one anecdote. I remember quite well, even some years ago, but I remember when we, the year 2012, when a colleague came to my office and she said, Daniel, sustainability seems not to be any more important for SAP. And if you put yourself in my shoes, yeah, you understand why I'm saying I was shocked. Yeah, I started on our sustainability journey from the very first beginning. That started in a project setup mid of 2008. And then from March 2009 on in an organized fashion based on the project outcome. And you're working every day very hard and engaged. And then a colleague is coming to the office and she's saying to you, sustainability seems to be not any more important. And then I asked her, why you are saying that? And her answer was, I couldn't find any more the sustainability report. It seems like we stopped that one. And I told her, and I'm so proud that we stopped it because it's so material and we integrated it. But look, I made a mistake. Yeah, the communication was not done in appropriately. So that was a key learning for me. You need to communicate why you're doing things, but the decision was the right one, and we are really getting great feedback from the various stakeholder groups about our integrated report, and we received some innovation awards around that one. That leads me to the next question to you. By the way, the final question, and maybe the most challenging one. What does SAP's Climate 21 initiative allow customers to do? I encourage you to speak up using the chat, bringing in your ideas. There's nothing wrong, nothing can happen. Only that the chat is recorded as well, Laura. No? Okay. So feel free. Indeed, a difficult question, I know. Compensate greenhouse gas emissions through SAP. That's an interesting idea. It's not the answer, but it's definitely an interesting idea. It will be in a cloud solution, or it's a cloud solution. Yeah, the Climate 21 is focusing on that one. Contributing with own ideas. I know it's difficult, yeah, and let me share it with you. It is about allowing our customers to assess, evaluate, and optimize CO2 emissions. My observation is that there are so many companies out there, and in particular last year in autumn, I observed the high season of pledges and targets. We will become carbon neutral there and then, or we reduce by 40% or whatever. And sometimes I challenge these companies because I don't know how they measure that and how do they ensure that they are really on that path of reducing their emissions, and they need to reshape their measures and their strategy and their approach there or not, because they need data. Yeah? And I will explain that in more detail, but with the Climate 21 program, we do not only help our customers to calculate and assess the data on a company corporate level, but as well bringing these down to production plant level, down to product category level, down to product level. And that is what we would like to see when we are at the supermarket in front of the shelf and seeing the products that the carbon footprint is as well labeled there, and we can make informed decisions. Yeah. So with that first part about that, I ask you questions, and I know later you will ask me challenging questions, so I started with that. I would like to come to the second part to share our understanding of sustainability, the roles we need to play, why are we doing that, why sustainability has become a core business topic, fitting to what you already learned this week, yeah, and then picking some initiatives out of the exemplar and some out of our enabler role. So let me start with why sustainability has become a core business topic. And let me start with you and me as a consumer. Yeah, for us, that is quite important. How are products made from an environmental perspective, but as well, super important from a human rights and labor standard perspective. And it's interesting to see that the biggest growth rates of products are the ones being perceived as being more sustainable than the other ones. Yeah, and you see here on that slide one example when it comes to packaging. Yeah, and the best is to have no package at all. Yeah. Before I talk about CEOs, let me go clockwise here and talking about investors. Just yesterday, I had a presentation in front of many investors, and there's such a strong interest. And there, the mainstream investors currently learn from the so-called SRIs. SRIs stands for socially responsible investors. And these are the ones who as a basis of their investment decision, they apply sustainability criteria in order to judge if they should invest in a company or not. Yeah. And what the mainstream investors learn from them that, oh, these SRIs, they have less risks and bigger opportunities. So it makes sense as well from a performance point of view. And that is now one proof point that the so-called non-financial performance significantly contributes to the financial performance of a company in a great way, that the mainstream investors learn from them. And even maybe you have heard about BlackRock and Larry Fink, the CEO, sending letters to all the companies BlackRock is invested in, and BlackRock, the biggest asset management company in the world. So they have strong requirements about the companies they invest in, about their non-financial performance as well. Yeah, and we had a share at our own SAP share base of around 5 to 6% 7 years ago. Now we have 35% being classified as socially responsible investors. And of course, our CFO, Luka Mucic, he loves them because they do not purchase the shares today and sell them tomorrow. They are more mid and long-term oriented. That is another great co-benefit out of that. And there's a lot going on with regard to regulation. I'm pretty sure, Laura, you will cover that as well, with the EU Green Deal, sustainable finance, the taxonomy, or Modern Slavery Act in UK, in Australia, or what we call in Germany, Sorgfaltspflichtengesetz. So it's about ensuring responsibility and accountability in the supply chain. And then there's such a lot of dynamics going on there. And companies need to respond to that and fulfilling these requirements. Yeah. Let's talk about employees for a second. The employees love to work for a company which is a sustainable one. In our latest employee survey, 94% of all SAP colleagues told us, for them, it's so important that SAP pursues sustainability seriously. Yeah, it is so important. And I feel in my role, being SAP's Chief Sustainability Officer, that mandate from the entire workforce every day. It's a great source of energy and momentum and people who would like to be part of that journey. So as an example, we established a network of sustainability champions around the world, and that grows every week. Yeah, they would like to act as multipliers, as front runners, and contribute to that journey, and encouraging colleagues as well to understand and think holistically. But it's not only about the employees you have at your company, it's about as well being attractive for the talents to work in the future for that company. And for them, it is the number one concern. Yeah, they would like to apply their understandings, their values as well to the employer they choose to work for. Yeah, And all these elements from these increased stakeholder expectations, and let's call it thanks Greta, we had that acceleration in the past 2 years. CEOs now got it. It is a core business topic. And I would say the other 52% hopefully already have embedded sustainability thinking, this kind of holistic thinking into their core business strategy. And let me share with you what I mean when I say holistic thinking. It is about moving away from a pure financial point of view, a pure financial driven decision process. And don't get me wrong, let's keep that one. That is super important. We're talking about business, yeah? Don't get me wrong. Let's keep that one. But adding to it, what is the impact of the business activities on us, on people? And what is the impact of our business activities on the planet? Having that holistic view, the economic, the social, and the environmental dimension all together, that leads to better business decisions, that leads to better business outcomes, that leads that you, as a company, ensure your mid and long-term success in the market. Yeah? So that is answering the why question, and hopefully it built as well to what you already learned starting on Monday at the university. On that here, and I don't go for completeness here, but you see, sustainability is really a topic for many, many years. We started a project set up mid of 2008. In 2009, I remember quite well when we launched our first carbon emission reduction target. Now, I remember quite well the conversations during that time I conducted with the executive board members of SAP, and I told them, I suggest the following target. We should bring back our emissions in the year 2020 back to 2000 levels. In 2020, we believe, and now we know, that we are more than 4 times bigger than in 2000 from an employee number perspective. It's an absolute target, it's an ambitious one. And then they said to me, Daniel, that's a great goal because I can remember it. 2020 back to 2000, easy to remember, but how will we achieve it? And I told them, I don't know, but by having such an ambitious goal, we start to think differently. We will be innovative, we will be creative, we will allocate budgets in a different way, and then hopefully we will achieve it. In 2017, I was proud that we could announce that we already achieved the 2020 target 3 years ahead. So in 2017, as a next natural step, we came up with a carbon neutral target by 2025. And stay tuned with the launch of tomorrow's report. There will be some news to share from tomorrow on with regard to that. Yeah, just to make you a little bit curious. And on that journey, based on my answer to the executive board members that we will be creative, I already shared that anecdote with the green cloud and combining the environmental strategy with the business strategy. Another crucial element was the one that we piloted in the year 2016, an internal price on carbon. It's even not mentioned here on that list. But whenever a colleague sits in a plane, that is currently not happening due to the pandemic, but a year ago that still happened. Whenever a colleague was sitting in a plane for business travel purposes on behalf of SAP, Daniel gets money. So we introduced the price on the tickets of a flight. Controlling did an amazing job, a very simple approach, yeah, and I get the money in my pockets, which allows me and empowers me to purchase offsets of high quality. We always follow here the gold standard, because we have a 3-pillar strategy: to avoid emissions, to reduce emissions, and to compensate what is left over. Yeah. So by introducing a price on carbon on the biggest emission source we have at SAP, which is caused by the business travel and in particular by sitting in a plane, that was a great idea, very creative, very innovative, and it works as well in a crisis mode like currently with the pandemic, where we almost have no business travel at all, where I don't need a lot of money in order to compensate. Yeah. So these are some elements of the emission journey. But let me, and we touched already on the integrated report and that we published that one back in 2012. But here you see next to it, launch of the sustainability dashboard. So here comes the story about that. Every quarter on earnings day, our CFO Luka Mucic is telling the public, the investors, the press, not only SAP's financial performance, but as well our non-financial performance, quarter by quarter, women in management, employee retention, carbon emissions, next to the financial performance. But then you could say, oh, I'm an employee, one of 100,000, I can't influence that corporate number, it's far away. On the same day, they see their numbers of their team they belong to in a beautiful dashboard. And of course, SAP applies our own technology for doing that and creating that transparency around the globe in each and every region, each and every market unit, in each and every organization. And they can filter the data. They do not only see their data from the team they belong to, but they can filter using our SAP Analytic Cloud solution, the geographical dimension and the organizational dimension. So they can compare, oh, how do the developers perform in Bangalore compared to the ones sitting in the headquarters in Waldorf? Yeah. So they have the full transparency. They can really play with the data and they see the core. Let's use the example of the greenhouse gas emissions. They see how their overall greenhouse gas emissions in that quarter developed. They can compare it with the last 4 quarters. They see the emission sources, how the company cars contributed to it, the commuting behavior, the energy consumption, the buildings, or their business travel to it. Yeah. So they have the full transparency about that quarter by quarter. So many companies still have their greenhouse gas emissions in their hands 3 months after the fiscal year was closed. Then you can't steer your business. Then you can't steer it in a direction to meet your ambitious goals. Yeah, you need to the data in a timely fashion, in a transparent way across the organization, and sharing that with all of them. What else would I like to pick here out of that journey? One key learning from the very first beginning was it doesn't make sense to come up with a sustainability strategy. It makes much more sense to come up with a business strategy, which is a sustainable one. And that is a fundamental difference. Not having an isolated and siloed approach with the sustainability strategy, but rather having a business strategy where sustainability is well embedded. Yeah? That was a key learning from the beginning, and I will come to that later during my presentation. But you see here as well that we touch on the topic of AI ethics guiding principles being launched in 2018. Just to pick a key pillar, the human rights are really fundamental and center, as I already mentioned that, and it's as well center for our sustainability journey. And with technology, there always comes great opportunities, but there are as well risks coming along with. And so it makes sense to think about the risk side as well and how to ensure that human rights are really centered and met. Yeah, and I come to that in later. So I suggest that I click to the next slide and leave that one, but hopefully that was quite interesting for you to see some learnings out of that. And this slide, what we call internally the burger slide, yeah, fitting to having almost dinner time, the burger slide, where you see how important it is to embed sustainability in your corporate business strategy. And I'm very proud that we were successful with a renewed strategy we launched mid of last year, that sustainability is even more prominently now embedded there. And this is nicely visualized in that burger slide, which shows you the vision of the intelligent enterprise. It's about our core business, how we help our customers through our digital tools on their business transformations. And you need to know that our systems almost touch all the business critical processes at a company, and embedding sustainability criteria in the data models in our solution, that makes a huge difference. And as we learned, sustainability has become a core business topic. We need to build this in our systems in order to enable our customers to execute on their more and more sustainable business strategy. And that leads me to sharing with you this one pager. That is very important, and I would like really to see all of you to understand that one slide. And as a key takeaway for you about when you are asked, oh, you have learned from SAP about their sustainability approach, that is our approach here. So starting with our purpose of helping the world run better and improving people's lives on the top, which is by itself already such a strong sustainability statement. We say with sustainability, we bring that purpose to life. And the definition is here on that slide. It's all about creating positive economic, environmental, and social impact within the planetary boundaries. Or in a nutshell, easier to remember, a good life for all of us within planetary boundaries. That is our understanding of sustainability in our business context. It's a broad one. It's not just touching on the environmental piece, but having that broad understanding and definition. Then you see here on that slide, we need to fulfill two roles. Yeah. One, we need to do our homework internally. Only by doing that, we learn and we gain the credibility in order to be an enabler. So by having that ambition to be a role model of a sustainable company, by being an exemplar of it, we learn a lot. And we be an internal co-innovation partner for our colleagues in development in order to develop the solutions in a way helping our customers in the best way. Yeah, and we do that not only using ourselves as a co-innovation partner, but doing that jointly with many customers. Yeah, and then you see here on that slide the 5+2 focus areas we agreed on. We used our external sustainability advisory panel. I come to that in a second. And our internal sustainability council, the highest governance body we have in place, and the experts to agree on these focus areas, ranging from holistic steering reporting to ethical business practices, from climate action to social and inclusive entrepreneurship. I already talked about holistic steering reporting. Now we'll have more news to share with regard to that, what we mean with that. Underpinned with another slide. So we pause that for a moment. When it comes to ethical business practices, one aspect of it is with the ethical dealing with artificial intelligence, but as well, we need to look not only at our suppliers supporting us, but we need to look as well, where's our revenue coming from? Having such a 360-degree view. And yes, of course, today we have conflicts to our purpose of helping the world run better and improving people's lives. And when we observe customers who have established in a systematic way a business model which works against the 10 principles of the UN Global Compact, and Laura, I guess that will be touched during your study. Yeah, you're knocking, great. So explaining these 10 principles, then we have an issue. Then it's not anymore in line with our vision and purpose of helping the world run better and improving people's lives. Then we need to engage with these customers and try to convince them and help them on their business transformation for the good with digital transformation from our side. And just to pick one concrete example, we from the Sustainability Council suggested to and recommended to our executive board that our software should not be used to manufacture, distribute, or sell controversial weapons. That is not in line with helping the world run better and improving people's lives. And the executive board said, yes, that makes sense. We need to make sure that it's legally binding to avoid that. And we are currently in the process to operationalize exactly that decision. Yeah? Just to share one very concrete example out of that. And don't get me wrong, we are on a learning journey and we are at the beginning of a learning journey. But when it comes to ethical questions, it's important to have a dialogue, to have different perspectives coming in, and then coming up with concrete use cases and making decisions based on these use cases. Climate action, that is so high on the agenda of all our customers. So it is for us, yeah, and I already shared about our own targets, and these we are as well proud of having the approval of the Science-Based Target Initiative fitting to the 1.5 degree Celsius scenario, but as well from our solution perspective, the Climate 21 program is our answer to that one. Circular economy, it's high on the agenda, and I come to that as well in a second. Equality for all, super important. Human rights, anti-discrimination, diversity and inclusion. Having a skilled and healthy, particularly in times of the pandemic, healthy and inclusive workforce. In our case, as an IT department, we are different compared to chemical companies or discrete manufacturing companies. But the mental health topic is a crucial one. It's a material one for an IT company. So our focus is on mental health, and we have great offerings for all the SAP colleagues around the world. Social and inclusive entrepreneurship. To pick one element, we have the 5+5 by 25 program. That means allocating 5% of our spend. We, the purchasing goods and services from suppliers, allocating 5% of that towards social entrepreneurs and 5% to diverse companies. That is one example on that journey. And there would be so much I could share with you, but just look at the integrated report being launched tomorrow, and then you will find even more examples. And then we apply the framework of the 17 United Nations goals. That might be an interesting exercise for you. Just remember sap.com/UN Global Goals, sap.com/UN Global Goals. That will guide you to a beautiful webbook where you see that innovation and digital solutions are needed in order to achieve these very ambitious 17 goals, and how we can contribute to that. And there are beautiful examples behind that link. So with that, I would like to mention that we do not only feel every day the mandate from all the colleagues around the world, but we have as well a strong commitment from our executive board members. And just as an example, looking at that picture which was made during last year's Davos World Economic Forum, by the way, the person you see from the back, that's me, sitting next to our Chief Communication Officer, Nicola Leske, and we are looking at Andrew Morlett. He's the CEO of the Ellen MacArthur Foundation. It's an NGO focusing on circular economy, doing an amazing job and providing a great platform for collaboration. In the middle, you see our CEO, Christian Klein. Next to him, it's Beatrice from Coca-Cola, my counterpart. She's the Chief Sustainability Officer from Coca-Cola. So we're talking about how to avoid the plastic waste ending up in the ocean, the huge topic, and how we can really accelerate the journey towards circularity. Or Thomas Sauer, as you see here, he's the responsible for our entire solution portfolio, being the executive board member for product engineering. Or you see my boss, I directly report to Luca, so this guy here. He's such a great supporter and a great sponsor in the executive board. And having the CFO being perceived as the guy for the hard financials, being as well responsible for sometimes perceived the soft topic of sustainability, which isn't a soft topic, that sends a strong signal. I anyhow have a cross role across all lines of business at SAP and all board areas, but having Luca as a sponsor is really great. He's extremely supportive, and the entire executive board is extremely committed with that. So that leads me to some selected initiatives after that, answering the why question and providing you the overview about Exemplar. And I touched already on our carbon neutral target. I already mentioned the science-based target topic. And in addition, back in May 2019, we said we have the ambition to phase out single-use plastics in our own operations, so in the canteens, the cafeterias, in merchandising, marketing events, and so on. We would like to phase out single-use plastics until end of last year. We were not completely successful with that. I would say we are currently at a range of 80% achievement with regard to that. But I remember when I was asked, should we go for it until 2025? I said, then nothing will happen. We will lean back and, oh, it's far away. So with that pressure about being successful, 1.5 years later, we had established a project. We had the key stakeholders from marketing, from global real estate and facility management, from procurement, being part of the steering committee together with me and having set up a project around that. And they came up with so many creative ideas. Of course, there's some effect out of COVID-19 with regard to that, where hygiene and food and so on is as well from an emotional topic handled in a different way. That is the reason why we are not completely yet there where we would like to be, but it's good to have that ambitious goal, fitting as well to our solution offerings about circularity. Yeah. E-cars is mentioned here. I didn't touch on that one. I was the first one at SAP driving a pure electric car as a company car. Since 2014, I do it. Our 18-year-old oldest daughter, she loves that car as well. She does not take the other one. The old one with combustion engine is just in the garage, not using anymore. Currently, we realized that the battery is not working anymore because it's not moved. We love the electric car. It's amazing using that one. But the future direction of mobility is not owning a own company car, but going for mobility services. So we have some interesting pilots on the way, really having that, following that trend and moving away from owning an own company car. But as we have currently more than 27,000 cars around the world, contributing significantly to our emissions by 1/4. We have that ambition to electrify the fleet. And of course, whenever an SAP car is charged, then we use 100% renewables. So with that, 55 locations worldwide are certified, having an environmental management system. Let's speed up that. We will have enough time for your questions and discussion here with you. So I would like to share what will be launched tomorrow about the integrated report, where you will have the full transparency about our journey so far. You will see all the different emission sources contributing to that. There's a chart generator. You can play with these numbers. You can drill down to regional numbers. And you see as well above the line how we purchase green electricity or how we do offsetting. And you have as well all the emission sources. One interesting anecdote coming to my mind here, because that visual is so funny. I learned back in, was it in 2011, I learned from my US colleagues, Daniel, graphs which should send a positive signal always needs to go up. Profitability goes up, revenue goes up. So carbon emissions, the graph should go into that direction. That's the reason why we show the numbers down. And if we reduce the numbers, then the graph goes up, and you see that line showing our target until 2025. So funny anecdote. I learned a lot from US colleagues who are always great with visualization. So that was still in our report, done in such an interesting way. Yeah. So I mentioned that at a few minutes ago about holistic steering and integrated reporting. The most clicked page in our report is the one connectivity, where we show the connection between the non-financials and the financial, the huge impact they have on financials. Just to share that with you, we do not only come up with a qualitative description, we were able to come up with real numbers with showing the monetary effect. So 1 percentage point change of our business health culture index, measuring the individual and organizational health at SAP. 1 percentage point change of that index means up to 100 million euro in our operating result. Now the colleagues who are still just purely driven by financials, they are alerted, and they listen to me. and we can transform SAP towards more holistic thinking, seeing the huge financial impact these non-financials have. Yeah. But that was our own methodology. And now it's about having a standard methodology that stakeholders can compare data. And that is the reason why I'm a strong believer in impact measurement and valuation. Moving away from, or adding, I should say, adding to these 500 years old accounting standards and adding to it, oh, what's the impact of your business activities on us, on people, and on the environment, and putting a euro behind that. That makes a huge difference. And that would allow companies to steer their business really holistically and transform their businesses to being sustainable businesses. And you have here a screenshot of the internal dashboard. I already talked about that one. So maybe you ask yourself, how is Daniel making that happen at SAP? So let me start with first, super important outside-in perspective. We have established for many years a sustainability advisor panel consisting of the important stakeholder groups, customers, partners, NGOs, environmental and social NGOs, academia, capital market. And we use them as a sounding board. We've always provide them a brief content-related message, and then we ask questions and we just listen to them. And they are so great in helping us on our sustainability journey, how to adapt and how, as an example, agree on these 5+2 focus areas. Then we have an approach in place which is called a federated approach. We keep my team as lean as possible. It's just like a soccer team, 11 people, that's it. Because otherwise, if we would increase that team tremendously, then people would lean back and say, oh, I don't have to deal with sustainability. That is Daniel doing with his big department. No. We keep that department as lean as possible. Should be maybe a little bit bigger. Yeah, we have quite a huge workload on all the great individuals we have in the team. But at the end, it's about 100,000 people at SAP thinking holistically. And for that, we established a federated approach, and I'll explain that in a second. And then, as already told to you, we have so many engaged employees. They would like to be part of that journey. They would like to be front runners, contributors. So we established that Sustainability Champion Network, and they contribute in such a great way. And you can make use of that energy of your workforce who would like to work for a sustainable company and make them part of it, and not just next to it, but really being part of it. And here you see that more in a formalized way about our governance model, having, of course, the Executive Board being the final decision makers. But we have the Sustainability Council established. You see the key topic there, agreeing on our strategic approach and the cross projects, covering all our board areas. We welcomed on Monday this week, Julia White. So we have a new board area, which is called Marketing and Solution Management, needs to be embedded here. It's not yet on that list. And then we agree here on strategic initiatives and cross-company steering committees where we need to add, it's one example, I'm missing that as well on that slide, sustainability management in the product portfolio, or you see some topics I already addressed, like the Beyond Single-Use Plastics project, or AI ethics, or the Human Rights Steering Committee we have in place, environmental management system, sustainable finance coming out of the EU Green Deal topic. Then you see my role, and it's all about thought leadership and orchestration, and using the panel as a great source of being a sparring partner for us on that journey. So far, so good about some things internally and how we make it happen. Here, I would like to focus now on our solutions. And you need to understand that SAP has a huge customer base, more than 400,000 around the globe in each and every industry and sector. 77% of all the worldwide business transactions touch an SAP system. We have a huge impact. If we are doing our homework, we have a huge impact. That is why we believe we can help the world run better and improving people's lives. And just imagine if 2,000, and I have to move here a little bit, that you see that 2,000 SAP customers, they count for more than 1/4 of the worldwide emissions caused in 2019. 2,000 of the more than 400,000, 1/4 of the worldwide emissions. Imagine through our systems that we enable them to reduce their emissions by 10%, huge impact, yeah, huge impact, and exactly that is needed. So for that, we have that sustainability management program in place. It's nicely visualized in the burger slide. And here are some more details touching the various solutions we have. But we start with our flagship product, which is called SAP S/4HANA. And there, the footprint management is an important piece to embed greenhouse gas emissions there. But not only that, today I had a great conversation with the customer Heineken. For them, water is a key topic next to greenhouse gas emissions. Yeah, they are operating water-stressed regions in the world, and brewery is a water-intense business. Yeah, so including criteria like water or energy consumption, land use, biodiversity, and social indicators in our data models and in our solutions make a huge difference. For many years, we already have a solution portfolio in place, which is called Environment, Health, and Safety, used by thousands of customers. And we're adding now additional capabilities in our solution portfolio to really help our customers steer their business holistically. Yeah. One is with regard to the Climate 21 that you have today the issue, and I start here with your customer demand that you don't have the transparency on the product level. Oh, what is the footprint of that beer? Yeah. The company itself does not have all the data. Maybe on a corporate level, with a lot of manual efforts, how to calculate these data and report on that, but not down in the business processes, not down in the dashboards the decision makers need, not being connected with the financial impact. Oh, if we would source from there, if we produce here, then we have different energy mix. That leads to different costs and different carbon emissions. Bring these topics together, connecting the dots, that is what is really needed. And that is the challenge we have today with having intransparency and not really data consistency across the entire value chain. And that is why that solution is so critical and needed, and to really allow companies to understand, optimize, and transform their business at the end of the day to ensure they fulfill their ambitious goals with regard to reducing greenhouse gas emissions. And finally, and as just have 2 more slides. So that one is about circular economy. The idea is really to have a closed loop with the idea not to have any waste at all. Not any waste at all. To design the products in a way that you know how to source them, how to reuse material, that you have a first product use phase, a second, a third one, or that the waste of one product is the source for the next product. Yeah, really thinking in closed loops. And I already mentioned our collaboration in a great way with the Ellen MacArthur Foundation. It was a pleasure for me to be part of a panel during the London Design Festival a few weeks back. Queen Token is a great solution applying blockchain in order to create transparency across your sourcing, and connecting the various suppliers with a buying department, and using technology. And it is like an internal startup. Yeah, we have a program in place where employees at SAP can come up with their creative ideas, and they would like to make the world a better place. And so we have such great innovative colleagues, and that is one beautiful example, which we today, as an example, discussed as well with Heineken, where they were extremely inspired about these solution capabilities. And then really closing the circle here, closing the circle, and that is visualized here as well, moving away from take, make, use, and dispose, and putting it back to landfill. really changing that is needed. And by the way, circular economy has a huge positive contribution if renewable energy is used in these processes to bringing down carbon emissions, which is urgently needed as well. Yeah. So that is really the vision here about circularity. It's a huge business case for companies. Just think about the use case of packaging and plastics packaging in particular. Our systems are used in the past to avoid waste in their own production plant. We offered for decades so-called enterprise resource planning systems dealing with resources, material resources, human resources, financial resources in the most efficient way. But what about when the product leaves the gate, leaves the production plant? Then there's no transparency anymore. And I learned a lot when it comes to plastics. Plastics is not equal plastic. There's so many differences. You need to have data in order to better judge, is chemical recycling possible, mechanical recycling, is it just downcycling, or can you upcycle products, and so on. And then you learn it is a business platform topic. You need to bring together the consumer brands with the packaging industry, with the retailers, with the chemical companies, with the recycling companies, and you need to deal with quite complex legislation. Even in Germany, from one state to the other, the environmental legislation is different, which makes life quite difficult. And for that, data is needed, and that is why SAP needs to help our customers to really move in an accelerated fashion to circular economy. And with that, I would like to thank you that you all listened to me late in the evening. And now I look forward to your challenging questions, like I asked some challenging questions to you at the beginning. Thank you so much for listening.